From her humble beginning as a bartender to the sacred halls of the convent, and through the trials and tumultuous relationships and alcoholism, Gina Economopoulos grapples with loss, grief, and the pursuit of self discovery. From the agonizing decision to leave the convent behind to the numbing embrace of alcoholism, every step of her journey is fraught with uncertainty and pain. Yet, through sheer resilience and unwavering determination, she begins the process of healing, learning to let go of the past and forge new connections in the present. I am so happy to have Gina as a guest today on Never Ever Give Up Hope.
Have you ever felt like giving up, quitting, throwing in the towel? Welcome to Never Ever Give Up Hope featuring Carol Graham. She's an author, health coach, and motivational speaker. Backed into a corner multiple times in her life, Carol shares with you stories on how she overcame some of the toughest obstacles a person can go through in life, but refused to give up hope. Rather than admit defeat, an opportunity was presented, and it involves each and every one of you. Carol will feature spectacular guests who will share their messages of hope, encouragement, and their inspiration to prove why life's adversities only make you stronger. And now, welcoming the host of the show, here's Carol Graham.
Tell me your story.
Well, thank you, Carol, and thank you for allowing me to be here, and to all your listeners. And it's a blessing. It's a blessing to be here to share my story. It's a story of hope, a message of strength, and it all started. It all started in New York. I was born and raised in Syosset, New York, one of eight
Okay.
kids, and great childhood. Was the seventh child. My parents loved each one of us unconditionally. There was no real drama in our family. My father provided for us. My mother was your housewife, house mother, and yes, we were raised in that kind of way, the old traditional way of Italian and Greek. And so as my story continues, as a child, the one thing that I thought it was a curse for me was that I was born with a lot of health problems. I was born with a hip dislocation, and followed by, I had what you would say I inherited from my dad. I had growth spurs throughout my
Uh-huh.
body, and so throughout my life, I had to get them removed. And as a child, it was
Aw,
painful.
right.
Um, yeah, difficult. I felt insecure with myself. I wasn't able to run like my sisters and brothers, and I compared myself to them. But then life went on. I just kept pushing through because I had a great smile, and I still do. And
Aw.
I was just this cute little petite Gina Lollobrigida, and everybody just loved me. So, with everybody loving me, in a way, carried me through my life.
I like the way you said that.
Continue. I went to college. I went to school in Connecticut, graduated with a social work degree, and I took up the billiards. So I always say I got a degree in billiards and pool. And I've also surrounded myself in the bar scene. So I really, I drank a lot. I would party a lot. I guess, not that I guess, I know back then, and even prior to that, I was searching for that love, for that acceptance, and to where I belong. And I thought, okay, in high school, it didn't really work out because I was just lonely on the inside. And then I go to college, I get introduced to alcohol. I'm like, wow, this is great. And I thought that's where I would find my love and acceptance in the college life. But yet I did not. I graduated, and I went to go live with my family in Pennsylvania. And so with those 2 degrees that I shared with you that I received, I ended up bartending. I went to bartending, and
Wow.
I thought, yeah, I was about 21, 22, searching for the meaning of life, searching for the purpose of life. Right now I'm just thinking, bartending, that scene, that environment was the way to go. Of course, I wanted to find a guy in college to get married, like
Okay.
my siblings,
Right.
and many other people. Right? They find their loved ones in high school or in college, and I thought that was my dream. But yet, there was nobody, no love life. There was no boyfriend, nor of course a husband. So, so I lived with my parents and I bartended. And now at this point in my life, I'm thinking, okay, I miss hospitality. So I was like, yeah, I would love to travel and I could be a bartender anywhere. And, um, and then I decided to work on a cruise line, Carnival Cruise Line, one of the cruise lines. And so I had all these applications, to be a Julie McCoy, to be hospitality, and I thought that was my life. Okay, now here I have another dream or thinking, okay, this is what I'm going to do, and maybe I'll find a man on the boat. But
Right.
yet, yeah, but during that time, my mom back in 1991 was diagnosed with bone cancer, and the doctor gave her 4 to 6 months to live. And I was home with my dad. We took care of her. My younger brother Stephen went off to college, and all the other 6 siblings established their own life together with their families. So I'm here, taking care of my mom. Of course, I didn't go off on the cruise lines or go bartending all over the country. I took care of my mom
Right.
because she was my mother, my best friend, and then she ended up becoming my child because my
Aw.
dad and I took care of her, and literally I watched her die without realizing it. At the time, I didn't have no faith. I had no hope. I had no love. Yes, I was raised Catholic, but God was not in my life at the time, or I should say, a relationship. It was not like I hated God or didn't believe in God. I didn't need him at the time.
Right. Right.
So when mom died, that's where was one of my first state of hopelessness, one would say, because I lost my mom. What am I doing? I'm just bartending. I took care of her. What is the meaning of life? Uh,
Okay.
so, and at her wake and funeral, people said she was in heaven. So I had this another quest in my life to search what is the meaning of heaven? Where's heaven? Who's God? And as I was questing and searching, and I went back to my Catholic roots, and during that time, I experienced a love of God or the resurrection of Jesus or like an aha moment, like, wow, yeah, I love God and I love Jesus and I want to be a follower of his. And so I joined the convent. I became a Catholic nun back in the late 90s for 12
Oh
years
my
in the South
goodness.
Bronx.
That's quite a switch.
Yes, it is. Bartender to nunnery and
Right.
back
Right.
again. Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so here I'm bartending, not bartending, here I'm being a nun. And of course, I wasn't really drinking that much and I lived a life of poverty, chastity, obedience. Like I said, I was in the South Bronx. I was a Franciscan nun, lived a very austere life. And in the beginning, it was great because everybody loved me. Everybody loved Gina, Sister
Aw.
Regina. And I thought that was it. Once again, I thought, here I am thinking this is I'm doing for the rest of my life. I found my niche, my vocation, my love. I'll be a sister and not only give my life to God, but to the community and as well as to the people we served. We were mostly, we were serving the people, the poor, the people who were poor, as well as evangelization, throughout the New York area. But yet I was a popular sister, which I was requested all over the country and as well as the world to share my story as being a bartender, pool shark, and then none.
Oh,
That was like my claim to fame back then. And once again, everybody loved me. And at the end of my 12 years of religious life, or I should say maybe the last 5, 6 years of religious life, it got very tough. I felt I
really?
was mistreated, I was rejected by my own community. I was trying to be me to grow into my personality because I do have an outgoing personality, and I believe that the sisters, or I know back then, they didn't like it. Their spirit was going one way, I was going a
Okay,
different way, and we just clashed.
right,
Um, so the last 2 years of my religious life, they sent me away. They said they needed a break from me. So for 2 years, I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in myself, figuring what's wrong with me and why don't I belong here. I made final vows, so that's why I did everything I was asked to do to make it work. It's just like a marriage. When a
right,
husband and wife, when they have difficulty, what do? They go to counseling. They do everything they can to make it better or to see what's
right.
wrong. And that's what I did. And I just felt like this is my person. I felt like the sisters did not receive that, did not like that. And at the end of the 12th year, after doing everything I can, go into a therapeutical center, you name it. I went through it, and in the long run, they said, "Oh, you don't belong here anymore." So it was, I guess,
Hey,
they were nicely kicking me out, I could
wow,
say.
that's wow.
Yeah.
How did you
Yes. And
handle that? Yeah, how did you
uh,
handle that?
oh my God, Carol, I was like confused, shocked. At first, because by trade I'm a people pleaser. By trade it's like I do what other people tell me to do. And when she said that to me, when the sister said that to me, I was like, okay, if that's what you think, like I'm in this wandering quest, wondering what's going to happen in my life. I mean, I gave my life up. I gave everything away. And here I'm going back into the world. It was back in 2008, and it was like, who am I? Who is
Oh
Sister
my goodness.
Regina? Who is Gina? And
Wow.
why did this happen to me? Why did they hurt me? I was so hurt. I was so broken, Carol. It was
Uh-huh.
like I was so confused. I mean, I couldn't understand. I really, and all I kept saying, I'm a nice person. I'm a nice person. I didn't kill anyone. You know what I
Did
mean? Like,
they
why would
ever
this happen to me?
did they ever satisfy you with an explanation?
No, not really. They just didn't think I belonged there.
Wow.
It was just, and I did everything I could, as I said, to work on myself. And, but they didn't receive it. I mean, I personally think there was jealousy, and I felt like maybe I was a threat to the one in charge.
That could be,
Because,
sure.
I mean, but then I'm like, why would anyone be a threat or jealous of me? I'm just me, this is who I am. And, And so when I left there, like you had asked me, I was just very empty, confused, bewildered, broken. And at the same time, I did not, I wasn't angry with God. I just didn't understand.
Right.
Like I couldn't understand. Now, of course, word went out that Sister Regina is leaving. And the community wanted to make sure that it was from me because they didn't want to be blamed for it. But honestly, it was from them because they kicked me out. I felt like I did everything I could. I was I went against the wall and there was no further I could do, and I just surrendered. That's how I felt. I felt I was
Okay.
emotionally abused through it all. I say that now. I couldn't say that back then because I didn't know. And then so afterwards, I knew a friend in Jersey who ran homes for men and women with disabilities, and she invited me to be a house mother for them, like a transition place, because I didn't know how to live life in the
Right.
world.
Right. Of course.
I mean, I was in a full habit. I didn't even know how to buy clothes or anything or nothing. So I did. I did, and it was the best transition time of my life. I spent 2 years with them, and they loved me back to life. I was
Oh,
with men with Down syndrome, or autistic, mentally retarded. They just loved me, and I was like, why can't we all get along? you know, and then after that, I had decided to move to the Jersey Shore because at this point I was tired of serving. Like I said, as a nun, I we did a lot of serving the poor, the elderly, the youth, the gang members. I helped out. You name it, yeah, I was there, hands on to the dying, to all. And then, of course, being a house mother for 2 years, I was serving them as well. I mean, yes, they
that's
served
right.
me, and
Right.
and then so I got to a point where, I'm tired. I'm in my 40s. Of course, I don't have a husband or a boyfriend or not, nothing really established. I said I want to do what Gina wanted to do, and that's where she came to the Jersey Shore, where I love the beach because I grew up around the beach. I love the beach, so I decided to come here. I did. I rented an apartment, and my dad was alive at the time, and he helped me out because I didn't know what it meant to sign a lease or anything. I mean,
Right. Right.
thank God the apartment had furniture because I wouldn't know what to
Oh,
get. Like that's how like a child I was in the world, being on my own, and of course I needed a job, and that's one thing I could say. I am a hard worker. I do work, and so I went back to bartending because it's the only thing I knew how to do.
so you got a job as a bartender.
Yes. So I went from none. No, I went from bartending to none and then back to bartending.
Right.
My
Right.
claim to fame. And my story continues because, at this point, I'm like I said, in my mid 40s, trying to discern what God wants. I'm still involved in the church or going to mass, praying. And then a gentleman walked into the bar. His name was Danny. And we became friends and we started dating. And he was the first gentleman, after the convent, but it was 2 years
Right.
later to relate to a guy. At first, I didn't know how to relate to a guy. I did not tell him I was a former nun at first until like maybe a third or fourth date. I told him it didn't scare him. And then I come to find out that he's an alcoholic and
Oh my
he's
word.
drinking at the time because I met him in the bar.
Right.
and and it didn't scare me, but yet I did not really know what an alcoholic was. My conception of an alcoholic was somebody under the bridge with a paper bag,
Right. Right.
and and um, and so he encouraged me to go to a 12-step program called Al-Anon. They're families of alcoholics, and I did go. And he was trying to get sober, and he did. He found sobriety like
Oh,
within
really?
yeah, like within 2 years of our going out. He found sobriety, and he found it out west. And I was just so happy because he's a great guy that was simply sick. And nice when he was sober. Oh boy, he treated me like a queen. And then, of course, when he was drinking, the disease took over. But then, yet he too wanted us to work out, so he did everything he could to get sober and to stay sober, and he did. He found sobriety out west, down by Arizona, Phoenix area. And so I'm like, once again, now, Carol, this was back in the summer of 2012, and I'm like, wow, this is it. I finally found my
Uh,
man who loves me. He's sober. He lives in Arizona. I'll move out there and we'll live a life of happiness, with the
Right.
white picket fence, my
Right.
dream.
Right. Right. Right.
And so but yet he has a tragic story. He came back to Jersey Shore, packed up his truck and everything to move out to Arizona because that's what we decided to do. And he was sober, but he was 2 months sober, which one day sober is a gift. And him and his mom went for a ride with him going cross country, but then yet they got into a tragic car accident in Indiana where the mother died. The truck burned up and Danny burned up, but yet he
Oh,
was saved from that accident. And he was in the hospital in Indianapolis for 6 weeks. And when I found this all out that one morning, getting that tragic phone call that's a 360-degree turn saying, mom died, Danny is burnt up, but he survived. But I'm like, okay, God saved him for me and for us. So I did go
right.
out to
Right.
Indianapolis, did anything, left New Jersey. We got involved with AA out there because he was involved with AA before the accident,
Right.
and there were many sober men and women out there that helped us out. We didn't know anyone. He was being discharged from the hospital, and he was burnt from the half of his body. And
Wow.
but people had took us in the rooms, just to help us until we got on our feet. And then we got an apartment and we figured we'll stay out there because he still was going for treatment for his burns from his head to his toe. And plus, we had a good support of AA as well as Al Anon. But yet, what does an alcoholic do when they're in so much pain, spiritual pain? Because Carol, he actually saw his mother burn up during this accident. Like he
Oh,
wasn't
wow.
knocked out.
Wow. Wow.
So, being an alcoholic, or I don't even care if you're not an alcoholic, what are you
Right.
going to do when you see that? Um, he drank. So he picked up again. I was furious. I didn't understand. And then ultimately, a few months later, like we were still in Indiana, he was drinking. I was angry. I was manipulating. I was controlling. I was telling him, "How could you do this?" I kicked him out of our apartment, but yet we were still going to get married. I was still waiting. I was like, no, God, we were still, because we had a wedding date. But then ultimately, I found him dead a month before our wedding day
From
uh,
what?
from the disease of alcohol. He happened to, I don't know exactly, but he fell and bumped his head. He was dead
Oh,
for a few days before I found him.
oh,
And so I mean, of course, alcohol was, empty cans were all over the apartment, so only God knows what happened. I say that he fell into the arms of his higher power, his God, and he died. And so
wow.
when I found him dead, that's where my life ended for me. I simply hated life. I blamed God for everything. I went into this real dark hole. I was tired because I felt like everything was happening to me throughout my life. And, why couldn't I have the white
Right.
picket fence? Why couldn't I have this sober man? Why couldn't I have this and couldn't have that? And I looked at my siblings. It was just a real ugly time. And yeah, I gave up. I gave up. I did come back to the Jersey Shore. I was simply existing. I was a zombie. I didn't want nothing to do with nobody. My dad, once again, was still alive, and he helped me out. He was the one that was always there for me. He called me, and he'd always say, there's always something good. Something good. When one door closes, one door opens, and I did find a job. I was just, yeah, I was kind of just breathing.
Wow.
um, at night, I prayed to God that I wanted to die, so I would never kill myself, but I didn't want to wake up in the morning. And
Right.
then
Gotcha.
I would wake up and I'm like, oh God, why did I wake up? My apartment, I had the shrine of Danny all over the place, boxes all over the place. I didn't really unpack when I moved into this apartment, and yeah, it was a real ugly scene for me. It was a real tough scene, and at this point, Carol, I resigned to the fact that Gina's purpose was to suffer. I was like, that's it. I mean, I suffered tremendously as a nun, and here, I just suffered tremendously with this, and that's it. You know, that's it. I'm just a waste, whatever. I'm just gonna live out this life and let everyone else reap the benefits of joy and happiness and good things.
So, how in the world did you get out of this?
Carol Graham would like to show you the path from misery to miraculous triumph in her fast-paced memoir, Battered Hope. She relates her determination to succeed as someone who experienced one horrendous nightmare after another: gang raped and left for dead, loss of a child, husband falsely imprisoned, and cancer. Nothing could break her tenacity or faith. No matter what you face, heartache, loss, suffering, or injustice, Carol will illustrate how she became a victor the same way you can. The secret is to never, ever give up hope. Order your copy at Amazon or batteredhope.blogspot.com.
Well, I don't know exactly how, but one night I went into an AA meeting. I guess I was just wondering why people were sober and Danny didn't make it. Like, I just couldn't understand it because I prayed, prayed, prayed. Being a former nun, you would think God would answer my prayers, Danny would stay sober and be healed. And so I did. I went into these rooms of AA, and then somebody invited me to go to this meeting, as it was a closed discussion by the beach. And this person who invited me knew Danny and felt bad for me. And I said, but I'm not an alcoholic. And he says, just come and see. And I did. And then went every day. I did not identify myself as an alcoholic. I said the desire not to pick up, because like I said, it wasn't me. I went in the rooms very angry, because I couldn't understand why they were sober and Danny was dead. I just couldn't get it. I just was self-pity. I was hopeless. I was in despair. I was in complicated grief. I was lonely. But my body just kept going to this meeting, and I would be crying and nobody knew who I was. And I was going every day for a good while, for less than a year. And then within the year, a friend of mine came up to me, who was in the rooms of AA, said, what is your relationship with alcohol? Like, you come here every day, Gina. Why? I'm like, because I was always going for Danny. And then I come to realize, in hindsight, the disease was so cunning, baffling, insidious. It was hiding even in the convent. I saw how I would always turn to alcohol to get relieve that pain, to run away from life. And then when I would wake up, I just saw it in hindsight, my relationship. It was just something. It was my friend. It was my friend. I mean,
Right.
I was always, whether it was drinking or just uh, controlling, manipulating, whatever it may be. So on April 2nd, 2015, when my hand went up at a meeting and said, "Hi, my name is Gina, and I am an alcoholic." So
Oh,
yeah, so came to realize that that's been my problem my whole life, one would say. One of my relatives says, "Oh, Gina, you could have used these meetings 30 years ago," because he saw the way I drank, and he saw the reason why I drank, and I
right.
always wanted to drink. And so on that day forward, it was news to me in one way, Carol, because how could Gina Economopoulos, don't you know my family? How could sister Regina,
Right.
be
Right.
an alcoholic? I was like, no, nobody will believe it because I don't, my story is not like some other stories where they get drunk, they go to jail, or, there's some
Right.
horrific stories, horrific bottoms of people's stories of alcohol, but I wasn't like that. But then yet I realized, wow, I am an alcoholic. I mean, drinking was a symptom. And that day forward, when I realized I was, that's where I do believe God finally came into my mind and heart, and that's where my healing journey beginning without realizing it.
Oh
Because
my word. Wow.
yeah, when I did say it, everything I was carrying, every insecurity, every pain, every disbelief, every uh emotional abuse, everything just opened up, and I'm like, oh my God, it was more pain. And then some things, a person, or I know it was God that said to me, what are you going to do with this pain? Are you going to go drink it away? Or are you going to go on your pity couch? Because by that time, before realizing I was an alcoholic, I was on a pity couch, self pity. Like I said, I did not want to live. I was like, yeah, I was very negative. I was just very in a dark place. I was very sad. I didn't smile for a couple years. I was, and, but then, being in the program and now being sober over 10 years, I'm in a better place, in a different place. I'm in a place of light, of hope, of strength. I'm in a place of purpose. And I can't believe it. It's a miracle, Carol. It is a true miracle for me being here today. And like your podcast, like your pod show says, never lose hope. Wow. There was a time that I did lose hope, but God in me never lost the hope within me. And he just carried me along and brought that hope that he had in me out, and that his love in me coming forward, coming out, and to live life now, to be present to life, um, to be a sober woman of faith today, to live in the present, to live in today, to be happy, joyous, and free.
Well, that was an amazing story. You had me, and I know your story, but you still had me sitting on the edge of the seat because I'm wondering how is she going to, bring this around? And you did. And I
And
appreciate every aspect of your story. I thank you so much for sharing it. So now, would you tell us about your book? Is it your story and who should read it, etc.?
yes, my book is called Shake the Dust Off Your Feet and Walk. It's my memoir. It's about faith, sobriety, self discovery, and healing. It's available on Amazon. Also, you can see it on my website. More info, ginaecon.com. And it's my story that I've shared with you here, with you all, but it goes in more details of my experience as a nun. Goes in more details of my feelings of the pain throughout my life with Danny, and now it also, at the end, of course, it's about my recovery of my message. It's a message of hope and strength, and it's for all people who are feeling that they're hopeless, or they may know somebody that's going through a rough time, maybe someone who is suffering with
Right.
addiction, or suffering with insecurities, suffering with loss, with death, anything, with grief, because I'm a great griever. So that's what my
Okay.
memoir is all about.
Oh, and is it written like a story or self-help or what?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is it written like a novel or like for a
No, no,
self-help book?
it's written by like like a novel, my own memoir, my own story. Everything
Okay.
I shared with you today comes from my own heart with the help of, editors that have helped me put it all together. So, yeah, and it's true. It's not fake news.
Right. In conclusion, is there any message specifically that you would like to? I know you have woven some of those, throughout
Yeah.
your story here, but is there anything in particular you would like to say to the audience as a word of encouragement or whatever?
I'd say, do not lose hope. Do not be discouraged. You're not alone. And if nobody told you that they love you today, I do.
Oh, that is beautiful. Thank you. And thank you, Gina, so much for being on Never Ever Give Up Hope.
Thank you. And it's my joy and pleasure, and blessings to you and to all the listeners.
Thank you for listening to Never Ever Give Up Hope, featuring Carol Graham. Did you know that most people succeed because they are determined to? Quitting was never an option. Carol loves your comments and will respond to each one. So please subscribe and review this podcast. A rating of 5 stars would be outstanding and appreciated. Remember, if you are still here, there is always hope.